In the vast landscape of Buddhist thought, few distinctions are as profound and as illuminating as the difference between the paths of the Arhat and the Bodhisattva. Both represent deeply respected ideals within Buddhism, both are oriented toward liberation from suffering, and both arise from the teachings attributed to Siddhartha Gautama, the historical Buddha. Yet, they diverge in their motivations, methods, and ultimate aspirations in ways that reveal the rich diversity within Buddhist philosophy. At the heart of this distinction lies a shared recognition: existence as we ordinarily experience it is marked by dukkha, often translated as suffering, dissatisfaction, or unease. Both the Arhat and the Bodhisattva begin from this same insight and commit themselves to transcending ignorance, craving, and the cycle of rebirth known as samsara. However, the direction their journeys take from that common starting point unfolds differently. The Arhat ideal is most prominently associated with early Buddhist traditions, particularly what is often referred to as Theravada Buddhism. An Arhat is someone who has fully realized enlightenment by following the teachings of the Buddha. Through disciplined practice, ethical conduct, and deep meditation, the Arhat eradicates all mental defilements, greed, hatred, and delusion, and achieves nirvana, the cessation of suffering and liberation from the cycle of rebirth. The path of the Arhat is intensely focused on personal liberation. This is not to say it is selfish in a crude sense, but rather that it emphasizes the urgency of freeing oneself from the bonds of samsara. The Arhat recognizes that as long as one is trapped in ignorance, one continues to perpetuate suffering, not only for oneself but indirectly for others as well. Therefore, attaining enlightenment is seen as the most effective way to bring an end to this cycle. The Arhat becomes a living embodiment of the Buddha's teachings, a proof that liberation is possible. In contrast, the Bodhisattva ideal, which becomes central in Mahayana Buddhism, expands the scope of spiritual aspiration dramatically. A bodhisattva is someone who generates bodhicitta, the profound intention to attain enlightenment not just for personal liberation, but for the benefit of all sentient beings. This aspiration transforms the entire path into one of boundless compassion and altruism. Rather than seeking to quickly exit the cycle of rebirth, the bodhisattva vows to remain within samsara until all beings are liberated. This does not mean the bodhisattva is trapped in suffering in the same way as ordinary beings. Instead, through wisdom and compassion, the bodhisattva engages with the world skillfully, helping others awaken while continuing to deepen their own realization. Enlightenment, in this view, is inseparable from the liberation of others. This fundamental difference in motivation leads to distinct approaches in practice. The Arhat path emphasizes renunciation, meditation, and insight into the nature of reality, particularly the impermanence, anicca, unsatisfactoriness, dukkha, and non-self, anatta, of all phenomena. Through penetrating these truths, the practitioner uproots the causes of suffering and attains nirvana. The Bodhisattva path also includes these elements but places additional emphasis on the cultivation of the six perfections, or paramithas: generosity, ethical conduct, patience, effort, concentration, and wisdom. These qualities are practiced not only for personal purification but as means to benefit others. Compassion becomes as central as wisdom, and the two are seen as inseparable aspects of true enlightenment. Another key difference lies in how enlightenment itself is understood. In the Arhat ideal, enlightenment is the complete cessation of defilements and the end of rebirth. It is a definitive liberation, often described in terms of extinguishing a flame. In the Bodhisattva ideal, enlightenment is not simply an exit from the world but a realization that transforms one's relationship to it. The Bodhisattva recognizes emptiness, sunyata, the insight that all phenomena lack inherent, independent existence. This realization dissolves the boundary between self and others, making compassion a natural expression of wisdom. Because of this, the Bodhisattva does not see a contradiction between enlightenment and continued engagement with the world. In fact, helping others becomes an essential expression of enlightenment itself. The Bodhisattva's compassion is not based on obligation or moral duty alone but arises spontaneously from the direct understanding of interconnectedness. Historically, these two ideals have sometimes been presented in tension, especially in certain Mahayana texts that critique the Arhat path as limited or incomplete. However, such portrayals can oversimplify the relationship. Many contemporary scholars and practitioners emphasize that both paths are rooted in the same foundational teachings and that the distinction reflects different emphases rather than mutually exclusive goals. It is also important to recognize that the concept of the Arhat is not devoid of compassion. Nor is the Bodhisattva indifferent to personal liberation. An Arhat, having eliminated greed and hatred, naturally embodies kindness and non-harming. Similarly, a Bodhisattva must cultivate deep wisdom and insight, which includes realizing the nature of suffering and its cessation. The difference lies more in the framing of the ultimate goal and the scope of one's vow. For many practitioners, these paths are not rigid categories but sources of inspiration. Some may feel drawn to the clarity and discipline of the Arhat path, focusing on direct insight and liberation. Others may resonate more deeply with the expansive vision of the Bodhisattva, embracing the ideal of universal compassion. Still others may integrate elements of both, recognizing that personal transformation and the welfare of others are deeply intertwined. In modern contexts, this distinction also raises practical and philosophical questions. Is it possible to truly help others without first attaining a degree of inner freedom? Conversely, can one claim full enlightenment if others remain trapped in suffering? These questions do not have simple answers. But they point to the dynamic interplay between wisdom and compassion that lies at the heart of Buddhist practice. The image of the Arhat can be likened to someone who escapes a burning building and demonstrates the way out, showing that freedom is possible. The Bodhisattva, on the other hand, is like someone who, even after finding the exit, chooses to return inside again and again to guide others to safety. Both roles are valuable, and both arise from a deep understanding of suffering and the possibility of liberation. Ultimately, the distinction between Arhats and Bodhisattvas is not merely a doctrinal debate but an invitation to reflect on one's own intentions and aspirations. It asks a fundamental question: what does it mean to awaken? Is enlightenment a personal achievement, or is it inseparable from the awakening of all beings? In exploring these two paths, one begins to see that Buddhism is not a monolithic tradition but a living, evolving set of teachings that accommodate different temperaments, cultures, and perspectives. The Arhat and the Bodhisattva stand as two luminous ideals, each pointing toward the same ultimate truth, yet illuminating different aspects of the journey. Whether one is inspired by the serene liberation of the Arhat or the boundless compassion of the Bodhisattva, both paths converge in their deepest essence. They reveal that freedom from suffering is possible and that the transformation of the mind is the key to that freedom. In this sense, they are not opposing destinations but complementary expressions of the same profound realization. Thanks for watching. Our channel is new and needs your support. In our channel you can find many videos on the history and philosophical teachings of Buddhism. Please subscribe to our channel to support the teachings of Buddha on YouTube.